Alright, boys and girls, time to once again visit the crazy world of Spanish director Juan Piquer Simon. If you remember his previous appearances on this show, Juan Piquer Simon directed the 1988 killer animal movie Slugs, as well as, Mystery on Monster Island. Yeah. Anyway, Juan's filmography goes way beyond just those two movies, but the question is the movie I'm going to talk about today R-rated horror movie Juan Piquer Simon, or shitty kids movie Juan Piquer Simon? Oh, good, it's horror movie Juan. Was worried for a second there. So before I start talking about this movie, I gotta give it some historical context. Back in 1989, there was something of a fad for underwater sci-fi movies. The most famous of these is obviously James Cameron's The Abyss, but there were also other movies like Leviathan, Deep Star 6, The Evil Below, and Lords of the Deep. But while The Abyss was a PG-13 adventure movie where the aliens were shown to be friendly, most of the other movies were R-rated monster flicks that lean more towards horror. To put it another way, rather than actually being like The Abyss, most of the movies that tried to cash in on it ended up more like Aliens. Well, at least they picked one James Cameron movie to imitate. The Rift, also known as Endless Descent, was a relative latecomer to the underwater sci-fi fad, being released in 1990, 1 year after most of the other movies I mentioned. But hey, better late than never, right? Another interesting fact is that according to IMDb, Dino De Laurentiis was an uncredited producer on the film and largely made it as a lower-budgeted pseudo-remake of his own film Leviathan, which came out the previous year and bombed. So here we have a cash-in of another cash-in that didn't end up cashing in because they put too much cash in. Despite the lower budget, this movie does have some actors in it people might have heard of, or at least seen, even if you don't know their names. Although, it's never a good sign when your lead actor is so hungover he's gotta be woken up by the Spanish Men in Black. Alright, I joke, but this movie was still probably more profitable than Men in Black International. This is our main character, Wick Hayes, played by Jack Scalia, who's probably upset that he's no longer the coolest movie character with the name Wick. Wick is called to Washington, D.C. to ask about a high-tech submarine that he designed, because doesn't this guy just look like a scientist to you?
God, we miss you around here, Wick.
Wick's boss is played by Edmund Perdom, and it's weird seeing him in a Spanish exploitation movie. At this point in his career, he was mostly in Italian exploitation movies.
Tell me, how's that pretty wife of yours?
Why don't you just cut through the bullshit, Steensland?
Yeah, Wick's gotta go be Mel Gibson's hair double in Lethal Weapon. Wick is told that a sub he designed called Siren 1 has mysteriously gone missing. That's weird. Normally when a sub goes missing on my show, it's at the beginning of a Godzilla movie. Those are usually a lot less bloody, though. Wick is asked to lead a team to try and find out what happened to Siren 1.
You're going to join a NATO rescue team to track down the Siren 1.
I don't know how to tell you this, but I think it's a little late to rescue anybody on that sub. Well, we already got the rescue team together, so too late to back out now. Anyway, time to meet some of our other characters, Horny Black Guy and White Lady.
That's Wick Hayes, the whiz kid who invented this undersea playpen.
Not bad looking, considering.
Ah, Roger owes me 20. I bet him you had hormones lurking somewhere in that luscious bod.
Ooh, you're lucky Twitter hasn't been invented yet, pal, or else she'd hashtag the shit out of you for that comment. By the way, you might recognize this actress as Kale from Death Machine, so at this point she's probably used to creeps lusting after her in sci-fi movies. And besides, considering how she reacted to Wick, I'm sure they'll get along great.
Hi, Wick Hayes.
Anna Rivera, navigator.
Hoo-hoo, sparks are flying. Hey everybody, now I know I look like a bootleg Patrick Swayze, but trust me, I totally designed this sub. You know, I'm getting the feeling the rest of the crew doesn't like Wick.
Then you've all heard.
Oh, we've heard. They say it was your fault. That Siren 1 went down.
You just had to design it with a self-destruct button, didn't you? In addition to the crew not liking him, Wick also learns his roommate is sick. But on the plus side, it's Ray Wise, so at least his roommate's a decent actor. And he's not the only notable person on this sub.
I would give you people at ease, but it appears that you've already beaten me to it. I am Captain Randolph Phillips.
From now on, you will speak only when spoken to, and the first and last words out of your filthy sewers will be sir. Do you maggots understand that?
Wow, I can't wait to see how the captain ingratiates himself with the crew.
NATO. I've been told it stands for Never a Thing Organized. Any truth in that, son?
Probably not.
What's your name?
Joe Kane, sir, but everyone calls me Skeets.
Bullshit! From now on, you're Private Snowball. Do you like that name? Hell, I like you. You can come over to my house and fuck my sister.
Okay, that's not quite how it goes.
What's your name?
Joe Kane, sir, but everyone calls me Skeets.
An answer like probably not takes balls.
Well, yeah, I mean, the balls are where Skeet comes from. Alright, so as you can probably tell, R. Lee Ermey is basically just playing a watered-down version of his Sergeant Hartman character from Full Metal Jacket. But hey, when you're as good at playing military hardasses as he is, I don't mind seeing him do it in a monster movie. We also learn that Wick's ex-wife Nina has been assigned to the sub too, and I think the reason their marriage fell apart is they both got jealous over who had the better poofy half-mullet. Alright ladies, the rave lighting is operational. Now let's take her down, preferably accompanied by some thumping EDM music. The nitrogen bubbles in my brain are mixing with the molly I just took and I am rolling. If I don't dance soon, I do believe I am going to semper die. Do I make myself clear? Sir! Yes, sir! I don't know about the missing sub, but all this ice they're moving through is making me think they're gonna find the land that time forgot. And damn it, Wick, you can play the Super Nintendo adaptation of the movie later. The sub gets damaged moving through the ice, but Wick blames it on the military altering his sub design.
We almost died back there, Captain. Because of Navy tampering, not for any fault of mine. Now, if you can't see what
That's enough.
Okay, Wick, if you think you're gonna out-yell R. Lee Ermey in this movie, I got news for you. It ain't happening. The captain tells Wick he's no longer allowed in the control room, which doesn't sit well with him.
You just might as well have me tapping damn Morse code on a bulkhead.
Hayes, you can play with your pecker for all I care, just as long as you don't do it in my control room.
Alright, fine, I will go play with my pecker. They also discover a signal, which might be from Siren 1.
Can you identify that?
It's a black box signal, sir.
No, it's not. A black box signal sounds like this.
Everybody, 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 everybody.
That song really was everywhere in 1990. They learn the black box signal is coming from deep within an underwater abyss. Oh, I'm sorry, I mean a rift. And there's something else weird down there.
At this depth, photosynthetic reaction cannot occur. Basically, plant growth here is biologically impossible.
Well, look on the bright side. With all this seaweed, you'll be able to make plenty of sushi for the crew.
Look at it all. I could open a sushi bar and retire a millionaire.
I already made a sushi joke, asshole. Alright, Nina, I'll get you a seaweed sample, but after you're done using it as a facial mask, you gotta study it, okay? However, this guy quickly discovers there's more than just seaweed down there.
Swin?
There's also jump scares down there. Oh, and there's also killer tentacle monsters there. You know, between all the weird monsters and the killer seaweed, this seems less like a cash-in of The Abyss and more like a remake of The Lost Continent.
Speculation, Mr. Robbins.
He's dead? Despite this tragedy, the captain decides to continue on with the mission. I would play Yellow Submarine during these parts, but, I don't want the video to get flagged, so I better not.
Sir, what do you make of this?
I can't tell a damn thing by that.
I think it's pretty clear what's happening. You're being attacked by a blinky red dot thing. Oops, my mistake. Apparently it's something else. Jeez, looks like Godzilla just skeeted all over the sub. This may not be the best looking monster I've ever seen, but it sure beats the hell out of the ones from Mystery on Monster Island. How the hell are they gonna get rid of this thing?
Captain, tell Robbins to reverse the polarity of the ship's radar cloaking device. That should allow the outside electrical field to shock you.
Reversing the polarity. Is there any sci-fi problem you can't solve? Alright, they got rid of Egg White Omelette-Zilla, but the sub is still sinking into the abyss. Sorry, I mean rift.
Overdrive the rotary blades. Try to lodge us into a crevice.
Couldn't we just reverse the polarity again? I mean, that fixed the last problem we had. Thankfully, Wick had the foresight to design the sub with landing struts. You know, in case a situation exactly like this one happened. But despite saving everybody, the captain isn't too happy with Wick.
Hayes, you never, And I do mean never contradict a direct order by your commanding officer, especially in front of his crew. Group identity via discipline is what makes a crew function.
You do realize it's hard to have group unity if you're all dead, right?
Hayes,
Yeah.
if it's any consolation, I think you did a hell of a job out there today.
Now never do it again, maggot! Meanwhile, Nina makes an important discovery about the seaweed sample they found.
Basically, the weed absorbs oxygen and then releases highly toxic poisons.
Well, maybe, but smoking it helps people enjoy movies like this one. I don't know if this crew is very professional.
I don't understand what's going on with these ATQ circuits. Why don't you check it out?
I'll get right on it. Just hold it right there.
Damn, good thing he's not using those glasses on Nicki Minaj or else his eyeballs would explode. They discover that the black box signal is coming from a cave in the side of the rift and decide to investigate. Bad news, fellas, this is no cave. It's one of those giant slug things from Empire Strikes Back. And I think it just ripped one. You know, I would make fun of the effects more, but again, compared to Mystery on Monster Island, this really does look like a James Cameron movie. Alright, they made it to the surface of the cave, but something's weird with the signal.
That's an SOS.
No, wrong again. An SOS signal sounds like this.
So when you're near me, darling, can't you hear me? SOS.
I also could have picked the Rihanna song SOS for that gag, but nah, I felt like going with ABBA. Alright, ladies, we are operating under the assumption that the Abyss is going to be like aliens, so here are your weapons. Remember to use short controlled bursts and stay frosty, maggots. They go to investigate the cave, and Skeets hasn't said something stupid in a while.
Hey, did I ever mention the fact that I can't swim?
Well, given how stereotypical your character's been so far, I guess I just kind of assumed. Let's see. The PKE meter doesn't seem to be picking up any ghosts, so I think it's probably okay if we split up. But while this cave may not have ghosts, it does have other weird shit like these things. And even though you never really get a good look at them in the movie, judging by the back of the Blu-ray case, I'm just gonna go ahead and call them brain-ginas. You know, I think it's good that Spain is making movies with weird genital monsters in them. I mean, why should Japan have all the fun? And despite their appearance, I'd be careful around these things. Oh shit, the brain pussy just tried to eat him. There's only one way to deal with these things. Time to play brain-gina whack-a-mole. Or just shoot him, that's probably more effective. You know, it's good that this movie is finally being more like Aliens. With all that underwater exploration stuff, it was starting to feel more like The Abyss. Speaking of which, The Abyss may have had that groundbreaking CGI water tentacle, but did it have gooey exploding heads? I think not. Turns out there's more than just the brain-ginas to worry about. There's all sorts of Doug McClure movie rejects in this cave. Hey, as long as they aren't revealed to be toys like at the end of Mystery on Monster Island, I'll be happy. Hey, have I mentioned I didn't like Mystery on Monster Island? 'Cause I really didn't like that movie. Despite all the monsters, they finally discover what happened to the crew of Siren 1. I think you might be a little too late for a rescue there, fellas. Even if the crew of Siren 1 is worm food, they did leave behind some Leisure Suit Larry games, so this mission wasn't a total loss. But wait a second, what about the weed sample they brought aboard the sub? Ugh, you've been underwater for so long the sub's gone moldy. And don't touch it, dummy! Well, what the hell did you think was gonna happen? Great, now you got athlete's foot all over your whole body, idiot. As if this situation wasn't already bad enough, they learn that the weed has gotten into the sub's water supply, and the only other thing they have to drink is Pabst Blue Ribbon. This movie might have been a little slow to get to him, but it's definitely delivering on the monster action now, which once again shows why I think horror movie Juan Piquer Simon is way better than kids movie Juan Piquer Simon. Things may look bad, but throughout all this, Wick's hair is still perfect. They also try to analyze the floppy disks found in the cave, but unfortunately all the footage is in max headroom vision. Oh, and storing video footage on a late 80s floppy disk? Come on, movie, I can buy all the monsters, but that is just way too unbelievable.
We have not been able to find a bacteria who deployed the DNA accelerator for experiment transgenetic. We can only hope a solution to this.
The hell's a DNA accelerator?
Well, it's probably the reason for all those monsters you saw, I would assume. So, turns out the government was experimenting with a machine that can accelerate evolution, and blah blah blah. That's why there's all those monsters there. Moving on.
I say we should just blow to the surface, play these tapes on World News Tonight, and let somebody else deal with this bullshit.
Look, relax, Skeets. Several characters have already died before you, so you might actually make it to the end of this movie. They decide to go back to rescue Anna, but they better hurry. Those brain ginas are really throwing themselves at her. Luckily, this cave works according to video game rules, and all barrels explode if you shoot them. The worst part of this whole situation, it is gonna take forever to get those bloodstains out of their jumpsuits.
What the hell were they doing here? I'm gonna check out this machine.
Hey Anna, I don't think checking out this machine is a good idea. Oh no, what are you doing? Let go of her, you overfiend! Not only did the DNA accelerator create the brain ginas, but it also made a giant butthole monster on the cave wall, as well as some other abominations.
Hold! Don't shoot it.
What is that?
Some type of mutant.
My god, the government was trying to use the DNA accelerator to create the aliens from Mac and Me. The fiends!
Blow it up. Just blow it up.
Quaid, start the reactor! Alright, this movie might not have a chick with 3 tits, but it does have that butthole monster I mentioned earlier.
Be careful. Move back away from it. I ain't waiting around to get A. Come on, get some.
You know, Skeets, you might have actually made it to the end of this movie if you weren't a fucking idiot. And again, video game rules. Explosive barrels. You're almost as useful as reversing the polarity. Oh, and it turns out Ray Wise is really a double agent working for the government, or the corporation, or whoever the hell is responsible for all this, and tries to double-cross the crew by taking an escape pod and leaving them stranded. See, this is why you can never trust character actors. You never know if they're playing a good guy or a bad guy.
And to think I trusted that brown-nosed son of a bitch. You little scumbag! I got your name! I got your ass!
Yeah, nice try, Ray, but nobody kills R. Lee Ermey. Well, you know, not unless it's halfway through the movie, but we're past that.
He's not in here.
No, but that blacklight really shows what he was doing in here while we were away. Ugh. Alright, Gunny, there's only room for one slumming character actor in this movie. Now move! Before he kills him, though, he's got to explain his plan.
So you seal the rift by exploding the Siren 2. Contact blames me, and no one will ever know what happened here.
Oh, hey, much smaller loss than having to take the blame for this accelerator mishap.
You know, even if things didn't turn out exactly the way you wanted, you still ended up creating entirely new forms of life, which is a pretty amazing scientific breakthrough. As long as you hire the right PR team, you could probably spin this into a positive and make some money. Ray locks him in a room, although if his plan is to kill him and leave the sub at the bottom of the ocean anyway, he could just shoot him. But, you know, movie villain rules. Too bad he didn't realize he left the guy who designed the sub alive.
Robbins, you see this? It's a circuit microchip.
Probably cost Contact 39 cents.
Funny, huh? Multi-million-dollar vessel. Helpless without a 50-cent microchip.
I thought you said it cost 39 cents earlier.
Okay, Wick, give me...
Yeah, that's right. Don't fuck with the gunny, son. Not only does R. Lee Ermey force Ray Wise to make out with a corpse, but he also makes him turn into the Swamp Thing again. Oh, and I wasn't joking about Wick designing the sub with a self-destruct earlier. He was really thinking ahead when it came to stuff that would come in handy in a monster movie. Unfortunately, the captain is unable to come with him.
What the hell are you doing? Open up!
I can't.
Well, you might be forced to wear long-sleeve shirts for the rest of your life, but apply a little weed killer to that, you might be okay. The captain sends Wick and Nina on their way, but before the sub explodes, he decides to get one last game of Galaga in before he dies. And that's pretty much the end of the movie, but to end it on a positive note, almost being killed by genetic abominations really brought these two closer together. Unlike most of the other underwater sci-fi movies released the year before, The Rift only got a very limited theatrical release before being dumped on video. As you might expect, critics didn't much like it either, and R. Lee Ermey even said that he regrets being in it.
I'm gonna have to say,
the Rift would come in first as far as shitty movies go.
Yeah, I think my list of shitty movies would be a lot different than yours there, Gunny. This is definitely a B movie, and that's even compared to some of the other underwater monster flicks released the year before, but at least it's a reasonably entertaining one. It's a little slow getting started, but once they get to the cave, the movie delivers plenty of monsters and gore, and despite the low budget, the monsters here are a hell of a lot more impressive than the ones in Mystery on Monster Island. This may not be the best underwater sci-fi movie from that time, but it ain't the worst one either. Well, that's all for now. Until next...
Hold on, right there, Brandon.
Who said that?
It's me. And I got a bone to pick with your little video.
Who the hell are you?
Who the hell am I? I'm Dave Coleman. I'm the guy that rewrote this script. Look.
Uh-huh, sure. You're the David Coleman listed in the opening credits, and whose picture online looks exactly like you, and oh, fuck, you are him.
Yeah, Brandon, last time I checked, I'm me.
Okay, well, what do you want?
Well, mainly I want to clear up one thing you said at the beginning of your video. You talked about how Dino made the movie probably because he was afraid Leviathan, which was like a $20 million movie, was going to bomb. But that wasn't it at all. One time I got to speak to Dino about it, and I was curious. I was like, hey, Dino, the scripts are really similar. Why are you making basically one movie for 20 and another for nothing? What's the point? And he goes, I'm tired of everybody after King of Kong ripping me off. They make the low-budget Kong and steal my money. So this is the time I'm going to make my own rip-off and make money on it. And that's a true story.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for clearing that up.
Hey, no problem.
Oh, hey, before you go, I gotta ask a question. Were you the one that came up with the brain ginas?
Nah, a lot of the effects and stuff were done by the time I got on the set because I was hired to rewrite it, page one. But, man, once Dino had spent the money on anything, that was it. It was going to be in the movie. So I did have this idea, though, for like these spleen penis monsters. I was going to call them spleenuses, but Dino wouldn't go for it. He said, no, I've already spent too much money on this piece of shit. Just to stick with the brain ginas. Actually, he didn't call them brain ginas, but he meant that.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, enough of that. I gotta get going. So, until next time.
Alright, thanks. Hey, that's my line, asshole!
You want this?
Yeah.